So glad you're here. Today's a special day.
Yeah, George is here.
Get out of town, is he? We are honored with your presence, Sir
Maybe
George. How are
George
you?
would do what you were threatening to do, Lee.
Maybe. George, you going to wear a tutu today?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm just going to listen. It's really early here in California and I'm trying to go back to sleep.
Holy macanoli, it sure is.
But
That is super early.
I saw you come on, so but thanks for the
Well,
attention and I'm going to go try to go back to sleep listening to your great voices.
oh, that's so nice of you, dude. Absolutely. It's so great to see you. I'm glad you joined us, but I'm sorry you're awake in the middle of the night. I can tell you this, in about 30 minutes,
Happy
Punxsutawney
Groundhog Day.
Phil is going to stick his nose out, and we're going to find out whether or not we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter weather. That's the key thing today. If you've ever watched the movie Groundhog Day, it's hard not to like the idea of this silly holiday. All right, I think I've got everything going over here, though. I'm ready to read our lesson. See if I got everything going everywhere. Good morning. It's February 2nd, 2022. That means today is 2/2/22, which is a pretty awesome little set of numbers. I think we're going to have a magnificent day.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello, Adriana. Adriana's going to get on a flight soon. She'll be flying up to Houston. Everybody wish her a safe flight.
Safe travels, Adriana.
Thank you, everybody. Hello, good morning, everybody down below.
The people down below are the ones that really work, and usually, well, that's on a ship anyway.
Yeah, it's different here. It's different here. We're the servers up here. Workbook lesson 33. There's another way of looking at the world.
Nice
You ready to pop up?
music. I am. Nice
All right.
music. Are you going to read?
I am.
Okay.
Lesson
Now,
33.
just so
Yeah?
you know,
What? Tell me.
if you were in Vietnam
Okay.
at night, and if
Okay.
you wanted to have a beer
Uh-huh.
55 years ago,
Okay. This is going to be really handy information, I can tell already.
yeah, you would ask for a Bommy Ba, which is
Okay. Bami Ba.
33, because
Okay.
33 is the name of the company that makes the beer locally.
Gotcha.
That's it. I thought you'd like to know that piece of information. You never know when it
Thanks.
comes in handy.
Yeah, I'll tuck it away. There is another way of looking at the world. Today's idea that there's another way of looking at the world is an attempt to recognize that you can shift your perception of the world in both its outer and inner aspects. A full 5 minutes should be devoted to the morning and evening applications of this idea. In these practice periods, the idea that there is another way of looking at the world should be repeated as often as you find comfortable. Though unhurried applications are essential, alternate between surveying your outer and inner perceptions, but without an abrupt sense of shifting between the two. Merely glance around the world you perceive as outside yourself. Then close your eyes and survey your inner thoughts with equal casualness. Try to remain equally uninvolved in both outside or inside world you perceive. And try to maintain this detachment as you repeat the idea that there is another way of looking at the world throughout your day. The shorter exercise periods should be as frequent as possible. Specific applications of today's idea that there is another way of looking at the world should be made immediately when any situation arises which tempts you to become disturbed. For these applications, say, there is another way of looking at this. Remember to apply today's idea that there's another way of looking at the world the instant you're aware of distress. It may be necessary to take a minute or so to sit quietly and repeat the idea that there is another way of looking at the world to yourself several times. Closing your eyes will probably help in this form of the application. Oh, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Hi, Mary. Hi, Afnan and Will. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. Good morning, Steph. Good to see you. I am up to the notes. It was a short lesson. I swear, I keep turning this music down. It feels like it keeps getting louder. All right, I'm going to jump into the notes. Stop me if you've got anything to say, but I'm happy to keep moving forward. There's another way of looking at the world. Lesson 33, there's another way of looking at the world, is an obvious consequence of the previous lessons. It's also a logical conclusion of what psychologists and physiologists tell us about perception. Your perception is based on your beliefs. Perception makes and colors your world so that you observe only what confirms your pre-existing beliefs about your outer world. How you perceive the world, therefore, is a reflection of your current beliefs about your world. I hope they're not constant. We're going to break those constant beliefs and see them just as current beliefs so that we can change them. When you change your perception, your view of your world must automatically change to realign with those new beliefs. Change your beliefs, and the color of your world must change. This is how perception works, and this is the true reality once we realize how perception works, or it helps us see the true reality. Sorry, I'm mangling your words, Tom. Try again. Earlier, we suggested that you adopt the mindset that is the purpose of your existence in this current space-time continuum. This current space-time continuum is for learning. So, earlier we suggested that you adopt the mindset that the purpose of your existence in this current space-time continuum is for learning. We advocated that you change your prior indoctrination about your life's purpose from earning and being a slave out there for the man to learning and growing. The focus of earning is on future external results, whereas learning is involved with the internal process of becoming and fulfilling your destiny. By making this shift from earning to learning, your world can become your play school that is designed to support your best interest. A play school is a school that allows you to interact with others while you learn and have fun in a safe environment. This environment promotes your best interest by combining fun with the learning process. What are you here to learn in this play school? Ultimately, you must rediscover and then reclaim the truth about who you really are. You have come here to know and actually be or demonstrate what your true essence really is. You have come to reclaim your destiny. You are not a limited ego body in competition with other ego bodies for the limited resources that your ego claims it needs to survive. Instead, you are an unlimited spirit that has freely embarked upon a journey of discovery to know your true spiritual magnificence. You remain as God created you. God doesn't make any junk. Your play school is the place where you get to learn who you really are and reclaim your divine birthright in perfect safety. A fantasy cannot change reality. You remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. In this play school of time and space, you get to rediscover that you're the deliberate creator of your own experiences. I said earlier that time is the measure of change. In time, we can change our beliefs about who we really are. Change those beliefs, and your experiences realign to support those new beliefs. In space, we get to experience the illusion of separation. The experience of separation is a useful tool that allows for differentiation. Differentiation is needed if learning is to take place. It is impossible being able to compare white with its opposite, black. In order for one to really know and experience light, it's important to have experienced darkness. By the same token, it's beneficial to be able to compare the truth against the false. Space allows us to temporarily experience differentiation, which provides us the opportunity to actually be or know a particular aspect of the whole. As we move through space, we learn about particular aspects of the whole. This learning process allows us to make mid-course corrections about our beliefs. As our beliefs change, we experience the passing of time, which is the measure of change. You've been indoctrinated to believe that the time-space continuum is a place where you need to get a particular specific result if you're to survive and prosper. Coming from this belief in lack, limitation, and needs, such a thought system is based on external rewards. It engenders a great deal of fear, stress, competition, and conflict in your life. You are constantly being judged and are forced to argue for the rightness of your choices. So here's my question for you. If you viewed this dimension of time and space to be a play school for the sole purpose of your learning and having fun in a totally safe environment, how would your relationship to your world change? Stephanie, Adriana, Jordan, anybody up on the top want to try and answer this question? Dr. Natalie, if you viewed the dimension of space and time to be solely safe and for you, how would that change the way you have your relationship with the world?
Well, I'm flying right now, so
Time to
I,
take off.
I guess for me it has been like this new play school to play, and I'm having fun. No, it's just that I don't know if you hear all the noises, so I'm sorry, but
Yeah, it's okay.
It's
Airports.
amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how when you really get your courage and move like with this kind of trust around any conflict that you may have, you will always see the light. It's amazing. So
Yes, indeed.
I don't know. It's just I'm really happy and overwhelmed of by what I'm doing right now. I'm right now having breakfast in the airport, and I'm traveling right now to keep
Well,
learning.
I'm really glad you get to fly up in 3 dimensions today. It's definitely, oh, I love flying. When you make it above the clouds and you get to see the sun, and you know nobody else is going to see it today. It feels so special. I
Exactly.
hope you have
Well,
safe flights.
whenever I was young, basically I hated the world that I figured hated me, and I, being brought up a Catholic, there was always this idea that we were all born in original sin, that we were sinners, and so the whole function of my life was not to have to come back here because to me I didn't have a whole lot of good choices. I looked at this as a place where I had to earn some type of redemption, and it was a very fearful place. And since it hated me and I hated it, I just was always walking around with a chip on my shoulder. I always looked at it as a hateful place, and that I had my whole purpose was not to have to come back here. But being a Catholic, uh, depending on how you did this time around, although you did have the ability of, confessing your sins at the end and getting a straight ticket to heaven, you had the possibility of going to hell. And that whole idea of always having heaven or hell in the balance was a very stressful situation. It kept me, uh, especially whenever I was told I was a devil, I could see myself in hell all the time. So it was a very stressful thing. Whenever I changed my attitude and started uh, looking at it, and this was kind of later in life, later being, maybe whenever I was about 30, and I started having some mystical experiences and starting to overthrow the belief in a revengeful God, then my whole world brightened up. And whenever I became a learner, then it became bearable at first and then fun and interesting. So that's, from my own personal experience, that was the evolution. But now I look at things as uh, and I guess I'm real grounded in the idea that I'm not the body and the body is not me, that we're here as learners. And now I look at all events as what am I trying to learn from these things? And it's a totally different approach. It allows you to approach your world with awe and a sense of wonderment as opposed to the sense of dread and fear that I was constantly in as a younger person this lifetime around. So it's a totally different mindset, and it's certainly a whole lot easier to uh, function in this world when you don't think that my worth is constantly being judged and that I have to get some specific predetermined reward or not result if I'm to have a uh, reward or avoid punishment. So it's a very liberating idea.
I agree.
And
Time to stay in the playground instead of
yeah,
being out there and being a slave. No doubt about it.
Lee, Stephanie had um, offered to uh, be a moderator, so I'm going to introduce Stephanie so she can also um, call for the next speaker. And Stephanie, welcome as a moderator. And you have the mic now.
Oh, you guys are the best. I'm just, whatever you guys need, I'm here to support you. Louisa, did you want to add something, my love? Louisa, if you have anything to add, just flash your mic, babe. All right, go ahead, Lee.
Okay, no problem.
If, oh, go ahead.
There she is.
Well, I was going to say something. I mentioned the word differentiation. Differentiation does not mean different. We're all created equal. Differentiation means that each one of us uh, demonstrates or places a little more focus or attention on certain aspects of what we all are. So, differentiation allows us to appear to be different, but ultimately, differentiation does not mean that we are what we truly are is different. We're all part of the oneness, perfect, whole, and complete. And we use differentiation so that we can have different learning experiences because we need to have something to compare in the world of time and space. So that's a little technical thing, but whenever I say uh, we're that we're differentiated, that just means that everyone is equal. That's what, Jesus said, if you want to be like me, knowing that we are the same, we have all that power that Jesus has because we're all equal, part of the oneness of all that is. And it's just our ability to tap into various different aspects that creates the appearance of differences, but in reality, we're all got the same spiritual DNA, and that's what we're trying to reawaken to the truth of what we really are. But we need that differentiation for the learning process to grow in our best interest. Thank you.
Well said. No problem. Anybody's welcome to share. There's another way of looking at the world.
So I just had a question about this concept of duality. So I feel like the course kind of teaches that although we see a world of duality, there is actually no duality. There is only love, only the appearance of what we see as duality. So looking at the world, it's kind of complicated too, because it's like we see a world of both negatives and positives. And of course, there are things that are very negative in the world, but I feel like as a student of the course, what it tries to teach us is that the things that we are actually seeing as negatives in the world um, is actually because on some type of fundamental level, some type of frequency, we actually don't see what we see is actually the appearance of something negative, right? Because if we kind of
Mm-hmm.
look deep down into something, there's actually always a positive to the negative. And so, I don't know, it's just making me think about this concept of duality, and obviously it's something that we see in the world, but is it something that's actually there? Is the course not teaching us how to kind of overcome this idea of duality? Is it something that is really necessary
Yeah.
for us?
I think I have a simple metaphor for you. And mine involves a coin. I've got a big coin in my hand. It's a dollar coin. And when I put it down on the table and I see the heads, I look at the coin and I say, oh, it's heads. That's great. But that's only one side of the coin. And if I choose to see it as only a two-dimensional object, I'm going to miss out on what this coin truly is. There's another way of looking at this. There's the other side of the coin. I could look at that coin and I could say, oh, that side's bad. But if one side's good and one side's bad, doesn't that make the whole thing neutral? The whole thing, the three-dimensional thing, when I don't look at the heads or I don't look at the tails and I'm looking at the entirety of the object, I see the third edge along the side, and I see the heads and the tails. And seeing both sides of these, I see how they both contribute to the whole. And then when the next dimension comes in and the coin is raised into that third dimension, you see the thickness there. That's a whole nother way of looking at the world. So in a world of non-duality, we say non-duality because one implies more. If you talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, you're expecting more. We say non-duality because it is the absence of a dual system, the unification of everything. And when everything's brought together and we work together, that's how we can see the world from the perspective of God instead of our own.
Can,
Wow.
can I add something else? It says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. If you look at those words and you don't understand what the terminology means or what the definition of real means, those words don't make any sense. Because you look at your body as being real, and you know that your body can be threatened, and you look at some other things as perhaps maybe not even being real, and you're told that that doesn't exist. It doesn't make any sense. Real, for Course in Miracles terms, means changeless. You are changeless, and nothing in what the Course calls this illusionary world, time and space, can change your spiritual DNA and cause you to become, because of an experience of pretending that I'm a dog, to adopt the DNA of a dog. Look at this world as I use the term play school, but look at this world as your NASA moon flight simulator. And when we were sending or trying to send men to the moon, NASA had flight simulators so that the people could practice. The astronauts could practice trying to land and doing the various complicated procedures. And while they were doing it in the simulators, they often killed themselves. They crashed and they burned. And but whenever the test was over, or the simulator, they turned it on off, those astronauts walked out, or the ones in the test people, they walked out unharmed. Okay. This world of time and space is our NASA flight simulator, where we get to pretend that we're something that we're not. We get to pretend that we're not perfect, not whole, and very incomplete. And we get to experiment with those uh, situations, and we get to crash and burn. And, depending on uh, time and space, the body may actually burn. But after it's all said and done, we still walk around because our essence still exists. The body is just a game token. So if we start looking at this world as our flight simulator, where we're going to have experiences that cannot change what we are, our true nature, but help us learn about ourselves and help us learn how to maneuver in tough situations so that we can survive the actual trip to the moon and back. That's how I would suggest we start, or I start approaching life, or that's how I do approach life, as a simulator, knowing that if I screw up, if I, as a Catholic, if I commit a quote unquote mortal sin, that's a learning experience for me to say, what, whenever the rubber met the road, and I said that my principle was I was going to follow the Ten Commandments and I didn't. Uh, what can I learn about that experience? And do I need to practice a little more practice so that whenever that situation arises again, I can, because of that past learning experience, have better options and make different choices and maybe demonstrate love informed or demonstrate the principles that I claimed that I represented. So, think of this as your flight simulator, and the idea that nothing real can be threatened. You
Yeah.
remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete, and don't let anyone ever let you forget that. And hopefully, our job is to remember that fact, because we're not being told that. We're told we're sinners, that there's something wrong with us, then we need to fix it. All that we need to do is get rid of all the garbage that we've placed in our mind about what we are, and this world will be a beautiful place
Yeah.
to
God didn't make
live
no
and grow.
junk, right, Tom? God didn't make no
Can
junk.
I share something?
Sure.
This gave me this made me remember something that I wrote to Lee a while ago about the light. Do you remember, Lee? The colors are partial reflection of the light. So this is another way to perceive duality, right? Light is God, and the colors are this partial reflection of that light. This is a refraction, right, in physics. And when matter reflects all the colors of light, it is perceived as white and is transparent when there is no barriers or surfaces where it can perform reflection at all. But when matter absorbs all the colors that are partial reflections of light, it turns black. The matter turns color black. So in our physical form, an object turns black when absorbs all the colors, meaning that when you try to mix together pieces of matter, situations, persons, things, with a partial reflection of light, meaning God, the only result will be darkness, conflict, sadness, anger, etc. In that order, all perception of matter, things, people, religions, cultures are constructs of the mind, of a partial perception of God, and evoke fear. Only when the mind acknowledges, despite of the illusions of colors that your bodily senses gives you, that everything is just a partial experience of light, that the heart enables the strong sense of belief, like faith, that actually matter is neutral, without any color, and that the physical perception of light is just an illusion of barriers that reflects the lack of oneness concept that only needs to be seen to be able to be amended in order to experience light itself as the source of everything, where all is born and where all is will decay as one, because everything is light at the end of the story. So this is another way to have an analogy on the duality.
That was great.
That's incredible. The study of light and colors takes on a lot of different, uh, even ways of studying it, because as Lee mentioned the other day, I think when a painter is using pigments um, to apply, they mix and produce slightly different colors than if someone is, in a sense, painting with light, which they do with colored, lights, light bulbs, so to speak, and they don't mix the same way. There's different ways. There's different ways that they that
Dr.
happens.
Natalie wanted to
So
speak. I'm sorry, it's just that I see her mic flash. Sorry, Bob. It's just for
who?
Dr. Natalie. She
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
speak. I'm sorry, Bob. It's just that I saw her like flashing her mic at the beginning. Dr. Natalie, good morning.
I was listening to Bob. And Bob was
Ah, I'm
finished.
so
I'm like,
sorry. It's just that I saw your mic
Bob,
on, and so
yeah.
she wants to speak.
Come
So
on, finish,
sorry.
Bob.
I'm so
I was
sorry,
listening.
Bob.
And I'll
That's
speak after Bob. I'll talk, but I was listening to what Bob was saying, but I'll talk after Bob finishes.
so. Yeah, thank you. Oh, it's all good. Lee, could you put that back on the RGB you just had? Um, Lee, I was just talking to Lee at this moment on in the Zoom session that we flashed back and forth. What I wanted to point out was something I learned when Susie, my wife, taught color and light at the college level locally. And she had learned it from a particular artist who was one of the most renowned artists in North Carolina by the name of Joe Cox. And Joe Cox he literally had this little miniature piano with 8 keys on it. And he had rigged it up so that it could flash like do, re, mi. He could flash different colored lights up on a screen. And with that, he taught the artists that he was training how colors get mixed if you are working with lights versus if you're working with pigments, meaning a painter who's painting on a canvas. Um, Lee understands this part better than I do. The CMY is that's for a print. Lee, I need you to actually differentiate those two, and you can do it in just a second after you finish when you swallow what's in your mouth. But my point here is that Susie was trained as an artist, but she has a degree also in interior design, and she was teaching color and light to interior designers who have to deal with both situations because they might be fabrics with certain colors, and then there are also lighting that can produce certain colors. The main thing that I see Lee is showing me here, and I can start with this part, is that with the additive colors are the RGB that we see when we deal with computers,
When we look at our
and
phone or
then
we look at our computer.
um, right. But the subtractive colors are the CMY, which a painter deals with, and the way they mix, they come out in different ways. So it's quite an extensive thing. So Adriana started with just the idea, which simply implies one thing, but whether it's black or not, the subtractive colors, CMY, will create the black, but the additive colors create the white. So maybe that's one way of actually really seeing the other side of the duality that we didn't know about. And
Okay.
and in this sense, we can add any experience we have while we're clearing up our own personal confusion as to what in the world is reality. Trying to
Okay.
figure that part out. Wait, let me finish this point,
Oh, okay.
please.
Sure. Yeah, please.
The
Make it
whole point
clearer.
here is I'm trying to. Oh, dealing with my son sometimes. I'm telling you, he's got a
It's the
tutu on
worst.
right now
It's the worst.
because of the date, 22, 2,
It's
2,
literally the best
whatever.
thing
Oh,
ever.
okay.
It's amazing.
It is
And,
February
and,
2nd.
and
Time for a reset. My dad clearly tells me it's time for a reset. Happy 2/2/2022. And today's a great day to wear a tutu.
But
as
Dr.
Tom
Natalie
said,
wanted to talk.
Oh, let's let her.
and as Tom first introduced the whole,
I know how to use my dad's mute button. So go ahead, Dr. Natalie.
Holy.
I'm not done yet. What I want to finish with is Tom said, we are in a playground. That's where we are learning. And we are learning by doing things. If we sit
Dad
at
wants
home
to
and
be
do
serious and
nothing,
not be at the playground, though. It's like,
no,
I'm going to
I'm
finish my
going to
statement no matter
enable
what.
I'm going to enable you to have more fun in your playground, Lee. And that's all I needed to say now. So I
Thanks,
will
Papa.
stop,
That was a great
turn it over
share.
to Dr. Nat.
So sorry I bedeviled you.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Didn't
guys,
bother me a bit.
I wanted to run my practical application thoughts on you. Again, I was actually doing the lesson practically while everyone is talking, and I would say I woke up this morning with an old perception of here in South Carolina. Inflation has made the prices of things, I'm talking about like food, $20 for meat and things like that. It's ridiculous. People are not working, and I'm describing my perception here visually. Um, People are uh, not going to their doctors and all of that. So, my perception of the current world is a fearful, oh my gosh, how are people going to make it? No one is coming to natural doctors. You hear the fear right there. So my perception, which if I hadn't have paused, I would have not realized that this was actually here. My perception was a fear-based perception of lack. Honestly, if I could sum it up, lack of, resources, other businesses have shut down, doctors' offices have shut down because of everything that's gone on. But with this lesson, and I'll even go back a couple of lessons, I need to see God in this. I need to see in a different way. And just pausing for a minute to take the time to see differently, I begin to rehearse. Wow, modern technology has skyrocketed. More people are now looking for natural ways of boosting their immune system. There's great exposure happening in the government. I'm just saying, I'm looking at, whoa, my old
Mm-hmm.
perception was, oh my gosh, how are we going to make it? My practice may have to I'm just hear all that fear because I had the wrong perception, and it was manifesting, stress, worry, trying to do unnecessary extra work for my safety. It's like, well, since I'm so
Mm-hmm.
afraid, let me go do a couple of workshops and make sure I stay on top of it. But all that is not necessary. When I changed my view and realize who I am and in God, it's like, why am I worrying when I have unlimited resources in the way I perceive things? I don't have to
That's
freak
right.
out about.
Mm-mm.
So,
Steady as she goes, right? Steady as she
right.
goes.
So now I don't have to work as hard. I can feel the relief of expectation and worry because, again, just like the lesson, I can see this world different. I see the world as, whoa, for naturopaths and people in natural medicine, this is key. We're about to thrive. Everybody is looking for a new way to do things. So instead of fear based, I can embrace and even be patient in waiting for the world to evolve back to where it's stable, or at least here in South Carolina anyway. Um, and that's what I mean by practical. So, Guy, is that how you apply the exercise today to practical life? Did I
That's a
do it
great
right?
way. I think that's a
Okay.
great way of applying it. Absolutely, yeah. That you, the way you described how to kind of take a step back made me think of, imagine you're looking at a grandfather clock and your nose is pressed up against the glass and you see that pendulum swinging in front of you and back, and you react to the pendulum going to the right as if it's good, and when it swings to the left it's bad. And if you take a step back, you can realize it's just a pendulum. It's going to keep swinging. You don't have to steer left and steer right to avoid it or anything like that. It's steady as she goes, and wait for it to ring, and everything's going to be fine. And I definitely spent too many years with my nose pressed up against the glass, trying to control the pendulum instead of just letting it swing. It's going to come back. It's going to average out.
And the best part of it is As Tom alluded yesterday, and I will allude today, sooner or later, time is going to just not be important anymore, and it will disappear because we have learned the most important lessons. Mostly what Tom again mentioned this morning, learning who we are and what our job really is here, which is probably much more productive in helping make it a better world with less work because we are better organized, because we know who we are and what we're supposed to do. We don't get in the way of what someone else is supposed to do. We end up with more time to do the things right that we're supposed to do. It all gets easier. And even while we're still playing in the playground and learning, we also know that God always has our back. So even if we fall in the sand or something goes a little bit wrong, we're still always going to be okay as long as we stay on this path of learning and enjoying it.
In fact, I gonna take a part of what you just said. That you said that if we trust that we have this learning process instead of controlling things, we will have more time to do the right thing. But in fact, it's just to have fun because the right thing to do is just to lose control of my perception of how to do things and let the Holy Spirit guide me, or like not put so much resistance in the things that I'm facing. I mean, I'm sorry, not putting so much resistance to the things that I don't want to do, because those resistance are probably part of your ego process of holding you back and not letting the Holy Spirit work through you for a higher purpose. So when you do let your barriers down and give yourself a little bit of courage of doing things differently than the way you used to do it, or you give yourself some self-realization that you are completely unvulnerable. Sorry, you are completely like invulnerable. You will face conflict differently because you know that you're safe, that you are always supported, and then the things that you will do next, or the actions that you will take in order to move forward with your day, won't feel like a burden, like a weight in your shoulders, or like a heavy hard thing to do. So it's like it's not about doing the right thing, because the right thing, the only who knows that is God. It's like have fun on what you're doing, trust that you're being supported, and if you feel that you need to like a step. I mean, if you feel like you need to um, like defend yourself in some way, okay, do it, but do it with a learning mindset, because there's sometimes when you have to be brave and face conflict and step up for yourself. But if you do it with the mindset of a learner, of a learning practice, then the Holy Spirit will do what is right to do in that specific conflict, and everything will be okay, and you then will have more time to do the things that you like to do. That the Holy Spirit and God only wants us to have joy in our lives. So it's not about doing the right thing. It's letting God do the right thing through us in order for us to have joy in duality, because the world is not meant to be fixed. It's a learning session. So I really appreciate the words that Bob said, because it rang my bell in my mind, and I had to share this part.
Adriana, if you were just never had Spanish behind you and you just started speaking English, you couldn't have said that any better. You're the rest of us have to. I can't even imagine what it's like to have it. And you say so many beautiful things And thank you for that. And while I'm saying that, Dr. Natalie, I love the way you put that together. The things that you're talking about are, let's just say for the moment, the quote unquote real world things like your business, your job. You have to bring in money. You have to figure out how to do that. And in that sense, this learning process is about not worrying that you can even make a wrong decision in a business situation because it's simple. Choose otherwise. If you made a decision that didn't work out right, you can choose again. That's the biggest lesson of all the lessons here. We can't do it
Yeah.
wrong. We know that there's no such thing as sin. There's no such thing that says, you are a bad person because of what you did and you're going to be damned in hell and blah, blah, blah. No, we want to
Okay.
be able to wait a minute. We want to be able to be courageous and try things out in business and not worry that we won't be able to choose otherwise if the lesson teaches us that was not the best decision.
Lee, do you remember how Q was telling about the part of failing and how was it like try and failure?
Yeah.
Ha-
Yeah. Try.
What?
You want to fail as much as you can because every failure is a step to
But he
learn.
said something about failure that we shouldn't use like the word.
No, no, we went
Use
back to the,
feedback, maybe.
yeah, it was
Successfully
using,
identifying a way that will not work that puts you one way close to the one that will.
well put,
So
Tom.
look
Perfect.
at it as a successful identification of one way you don't want to try again.
I'd love to add something. I'm just taking notes as I'm working out here of everything that people have been saying. And I think it was Will that started with the question about the negative. And I just want to just share my point of view on it because Tom, actually, you hit the nail right on the head with my background. I grew up Mormon. I grew up in a very religious, structured household. And so everything you were saying really made sense to me. But looking back at my childhood, what I would say, what I've learned is that you need the darkness to see the light, to see the contrast in this duality. And what I would say is, I know we're using the words negative and wrong or bad. And my point of view on this is our playground. This world is our playground. And there's nothing that could actually go wrong or bad. That's just our definition in the words that we're attaching to it. And so when we say something's negative, for me, how I see it is it's not negative. It just doesn't have enough energy put into it yet. So if you're having a lower vibrational thought, it just means that you need to put some positive energy into that thought. And again, what Tom was saying is that with the past of, and again, what Dr. Natalie was saying, with everything that she's seeing and the way that we're perceiving it, that's the one way of perceiving it. Like Lee was saying, one side of the coin. That's all of the, like Adriana was saying, all of the colors together in one spot. But if we take a second and know it's light and know that like a rainbow, we can filter what's going on, then we know that we shouldn't label it as negative or wrong, and that we just need to move it up the scale, move it from red to move it up your chakra system or however you see it, move it up in the colors, because red is a slow and purple is a high frequency.
Yeah.
And so that's just how I see it. So I just wanted to bring my point of view to when we say negative, that it just means that you can bring your attention to it, and you can bring the energy of it up faster. And in
That's
that way, it
wonderful.
goes from a negative charge to a positive charge.
That is wonderful. Yeah. And in computers, a negative charge is the absence of a charge, and a positive charge is literally a charge being sent through. So that's a great way of looking at it, Stephanie. If it feels like a negative, add some energy, and that creates the positive. It's all part of the same system, and we're just playing with energy here. The spectrum goes from purple all the way up through all the colors until you get back up into the blues and into the ultraviolets. And the ultraviolets have a ton of energy behind them. What a great analogy. Thank you, Steph.
Can I ask Steph, can you give me a practical example? I'm always the practical. Can you give me a I don't know how to ask. Like, give me a story or
Yeah,
something where you apply it.
yeah, of course. I have one that happened to me this weekend. So I realized that throughout my life there was a story that was being told to me, and it was that I was ugly, and it came from my father. And again, like we were talking about, like Tom and Natalie were talking about how our past reality, it can be in our world, it can consume our world. And I kept saying that, and I kept saying, oh, why is that so bad? And again, like I'm saying, I realized that it's not bad. I kept saying and doing things that made me feel ugly, or saying things that made me feel like I needed to feel more beautiful. And when I realized that this was a negative charge in my body, a negative thought that I had stuck in my body, that it was going to manifest and keep manifesting until I changed the charge of the thought. And so now that I have identified it, because again, light, we need to shed a light, we need to sit and reflect to find all of these patterns. Then you can then start to understand where the negative charge is, and then start to bring it up, right? We can't destroy energy, it has to be replaced. And if we know this, then we know that something that needs to be bigger, right? Something in motion stays in motion, but something that has a bigger force can change it. And so for me, it's again about that negative and that positive force. It's about the charges. If it has a negative charge, we know everything in this dimension with a negative charge is stronger, right? It has just more mass. And so if we need to speed it up, we need to give it more light, we need to give it attention, we need to give it love, right? So for me, the
Wow.
practical application is you have to add love. You have to add attention to it. You have to give yourself time and space for that thought to then pull up your chakra system, and you can feel it pull up your body, and you'll feel it, your body get lighter, and you'll feel the thought dissolve, but only if you give it time, space, and love to transform will that happen, that switch happen from the negative charge to the positive charge. So I hope that helped. Natalie, you are more than welcome to inbox me, and I can give you some more
No,
examples.
that was good.
Thanks, guys.
In fact, what you just said, Stephanie, it's so easily understood among all the things that you see in front of your eyes. If you have, for example, a table or a rock in your hands, the energy it's so it's so dense that it's fixed. So when you see, for example, a person that whose body and his way of behaving, it's like too stiff, too like this kind of stressful way of his body seems to be, is because he's holding like too much negative emotions inside. I have seen this all over the place in my life, in persons, in things. I mean, for example, a rock is that strong because it is how Stephanie just said. And when you see, for example, someone that is happy, free, and it doesn't care, and it doesn't matter how he's looking. But he can be like joyful and dance, and it doesn't matter if the person is fat or not, or if whatever the body is. If you have joy and love in your life, you can dance, you can move in different kind of ways that probably other persons that are having a hard time with emotions cannot do. So energy perceived as the way Stephanie just said will give you the idea that as long as you want to hold on into grievance or hold on into conflict within you, you will get stiffer and stiffer in your body. So you will have stress, you will have disease, you will have, and in your perception of things, you will have conflicts because you're building up barriers and barriers and barriers for the light to go within your eyes. So it's amazing the things that you just said. Stephanie, I couldn't have any better explanation of how energy is related to mass and at the level of the form. If you see nature, for example, the smell, when you smell something good, it doesn't have any other form of perception within you than that only just the perception of your nose. And the smell could be probably from a flower or a perfume, but it doesn't have to be a fixed form because the smell is just in a level of frequency of energy frequency that is not seen by the eyes but is perceived by the nose. So the higher
Mm,
the higher or the positive the energy is, the faster the wavelength is, the mass gets lighter, and that's why light
Exactly.
it's all over us. So it's amazing, Stephanie. Thank you very much for your sharing. You made a little bit of a piece in my puzzle about energy and mass and things like that. Thank you.
And life just gets easier when all of these
Exactly.
differentiations and different ways of thinking about light. And I mean, one way of looking at light, you end up with black. Another one, you end up with white. How much sense does that make? The big deal is, what does it mean to add some energy to it, as all of you have mentioned? It simply means putting your attention on it. And in some cases, it means don't do a thing because you put your attention on it and you say, they need me out of the way for this. In another case, they need me to write an email. In another case, I need to sit down and redesign something. My attention and the asking for God's will in this can change anything from something that is not acceptable into something that is. Now, why in the end do we want to do that? As Dr. Natalie started to said earlier, we also exist this duality. We are studying what do we do with our minds in order for us to feel more like God and at one with everything. And then we go to work. Oops, it's not doesn't look like the same deal, but it is. Because when we really do get out of the non duality, we recognize that God is with us while we're at work. It's what he or she has assigned to us at this moment. And I think it's Dr. Natalie who gets into Akashic records and stuff like that. In the end, we want to be successful. But when is that end? Sometimes we need to get out of something to be really successful in life for what God wanted us to be doing. And in another case, it's just doing as good or improving what we are doing. In my case, I can tell you that consciously, at the ripe young age of 75, I decided to change my life. And I changed my entire business approach from doing houses and apartments to really taking on a bigger mantle and trying to improve the world on a much larger level. And that's what I'm planning to do for the next 75 years. So I'm year into that, and almost two, if we count the calendar years. And life is changing quite miraculously in front of me because I want to be able to do more and to benefit my fellow man, fellow women, whatever, to also be able to do more good in this world. So we bring what we're learning here, this part of the duality, the coin that Lee was talking about, over into the work world where we have to work, we have to make some money so we can put bread on the table, even though, as Natalie said, it's much more expensive than it used to be. So we have to put even a little bit more attention. You're all hitting on all cylinders today. I just think this is going along great. And I also would like to invite anybody else who is down at the bottom of this screen, really. It's the hallway. Come on up and share your thoughts as well.
it's not the
And
hallway. The
what is it?
hallway
Hallway,
is at
right?
the top
Yeah,
left-hand corner of your screen. It says hallway. Top left-hand
right.
corner is the hallway. When you enter into the whole app, that's the hallway. We're in a room now, and they're out in the audience. We're up on stage. And anybody else is welcome to come up to the stage and share as I teach my father how to use this app.
Learn something every day. Is that learning thing again?
We're here to
Does
be
he have
learners, not earners.
Lee? Does he have a tutu? Did you get him a
I,
tutu?
I didn't.
Architectural tutu.
He
No,
needs one
I
on his
got a
head.
3-3. This is lesson 3-3.
It's a 3-3. That's terrible, terrible.
I got to do
Can
it.
we read like the lesson from the Purple Book?
Really smart. Absolutely. There's another way of looking at the world. This is lesson 33 from A Course in Miracles. There's another way of looking at the world. Today's idea is an attempt to recognize that you can shift your perception of the world in both its outer and inner aspects. A full 5 minutes should be devoted in the morning and evening applications. We'll do that right after this. We'll do our 5 minutes right after this, okay? In these practice periods, the idea should be repeated as often as you find comfortable. There is another way of looking at the world. Through unhurried, though unhurried applications are essential. Alternate between surveying your outer and inner perceptions, but without an abrupt sense of shifting. Merely glance casually around the world you perceive as outside of yourself, then close your eyes and survey your thoughts with equal casualness. Try to remain equally uninvolved in both, and to maintain this detachment as you repeat the idea throughout the day. The shorter exercise periods should be as frequent as possible. Specific applications of today's idea should also be made immediately when any situation arises which tempts you to become disturbed. For these specific applications, say, there is another way of looking at this. Remember to apply today's idea the instant you're aware of distress. It may be necessary to take a minute or so and sit quietly and repeat the idea to yourself several times. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. Close your eyes. Closing your eyes will probably help in this specific form of application of today's idea. So, after we get done with this 5 minutes, we'll line ourselves up for an afternoon 5 minutes. If you can figure it out sometime between maybe 4 and 6 o'clock, take 5 minutes for yourself. Put a little reminder for yourself somewhere. And then throughout the day, remember there's another way of looking at the world. So if you've got a little reminder, let's set it up real quick. There is another way of looking at the world. Lesson 33 on 2/22/22. 22. It's 33. There's another way of looking at these numbers too. All right. I'm going to take us through 5 minutes now. 5 minutes. I'm going to put a timer up to make it easy to tell how much time we've got. And that way, I'll have an easy time making sure I'm doing 5 minutes. And for anybody who cares, looks like Puxatawny Phil. I'll have a report for you whether or not he saw his shadow when we get done with our 5 minutes. All right. I have 5 minute timer ready. All right. Close your eyes. Take a moment. Let any thought come through. Apply today's idea. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at this. Let another thought drift by. There's another way of looking at the world. And there's another way of looking at this. Open your eyes and look around. There's another way of looking at the world. Look at something and think, there's another way of looking at this. Close your eyes and look inside. What thought came up the most yesterday? There's another way of looking at this. There's another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There's another way of looking at this. We're halfway there. Let's open our eyes. Take a look around. There's another way of looking at the world. Let's go within again. There's another way of looking at our world. All right, let's relax ourselves a minute. We're going to get ready to come out. Take a deep breath, cleansing breath. Today we are going to look at the world differently than we looked at it before. We're going to remember there's another way of looking at the world. Maybe we've only been seeing one dimension and another one's going to show up today. Or maybe we've lived our whole life in four, and today is when we get to visit the fifth dimension. But there's another way of looking at the world, and today we are going to see it differently. Later on today, when you do your next application of 5 minutes, you'll realize that I even cut this short. There's 16 seconds left. I just couldn't wait the full 5 minutes. So I hope you guys enjoyed that and it was helpful to apply today's idea. There is another way of looking at the world. And that's a full 5 minutes. Holy cow, 5 minutes is a long time. My God. It takes a lot of effort to look at the world a different way for that long, doesn't it? All right. Well, it's Wednesday. We're coming up to the top of the hour. We've had a really good session here. I really, really appreciate everybody's shares, even my dad's, and appreciate how everybody came and showed up and helped us figure this one out. So thank you very much. Come on up and say anything you want. Ask any questions. We don't have to close the room, but really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Lee, Lee, you make me proud of you because you've initiated something just this week of actually walking us or even helping us go through at least one time an application of the step. And I think it's beautiful. I think that we all get something out of it. Each person may be something different, but doing it the way you did it is fantastic. And I give you applause for that. That's terrific.
Kudos? Do I get kudos?
Yeah, you get those two.
All
Watch
right.
out for the tutus.
Okay.
I have to say something as well, as
Okay.
this part of the Stephanie's intervention was so powerful to
Yes.
me.
Yes, Stephanie deserves some credit here for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Steph had come to us and said we really would love to have, she would love to have some meditations in kind of the way that I had started to do it the first couple of times. And so she's going to start writing some scripts up, and we're going to start to record some of these so that we've got a nice meditation thing that we can use over and over. So lots of great
Well,
inspiration come from everywhere.
well, I have to say this fast because I have to move to security to pass to my gate. Well, the thing is that this week I have as Dr. Natalie loves to have experiential examples of these concepts. I did have a situation yesterday that was causing me great deal of pain, a conflict with my husband, a discussion with my ex-husband, and he really tapped into my past pains about our relationship. So I was really having a hard time with those emotions. But as a Course in Miracles student I am now, I really took those kind of situation as part of my process of transformation right now, and I knew that the things that I was that I was feeling like it hurt me. Those things wasn't really hurting me. They were showing me my past, and that's not who I am now. So I needed just to have from Lee a little bit of perspective, and I called him, and he gave me just the words. You know what? I don't know. I don't know even how to say this to you, but I'm gonna only say I love you. And when he said that back, I totally now can understand how Stephanie like concepts apply. It's applied to us in a conflict because nobody will take you out of your situation when you are in a conflict. Nobody can take you out of it. If you are having depression, anxiety, or a discussion with somebody, or having like this situation where you cannot find like inspiration to do a creative process, nobody is there for help you to get out of it in terms like they are going to take you out of it. No, it's only you. But the only thing you need is somebody that reflects the love or the light back to you in order for you to shake those feelings around. Lee did that to me yesterday. And it was so powerful because I understood that he or nobody is there to save me from my conflicts because the only one that can move around them, it's me. But if I have somebody that can reflect the love back, I can move into the conflicts with such an easy, way of doing
You're gonna
things that it.
sail right over that conflict.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is not something that will kill me, anymore.
We don't have to be down on
Because
that battlefield anymore, do we?
yeah, yeah. So that's why it's so important to have kindness in our words, to have kindness in our hearts, because when somebody is having an issue, a conflict, you cannot take them out of it, or a disease, you cannot take them physically out of them. The only thing that you can do is express your love for them. That's the only thing that you need to do. Because that light maybe in the minute will not go through, but maybe afterwards, a little bit with more time for them, the experience of having someone around that no matter what will tell you that they love you will help them to see world differently. So I really hope this makes a full circle on the Stephanie's intervention because it was really powerful for me. Thank you very much. And I'm going to have to go.
Thank you, Adriana.
Okay. Bye bye. Love you all.
Thank you so much, Adriana.
Every conflict is an opportunity for us to either participate or not. And we can choose to rise above the conflict. And if somebody else wants to fight with us, we don't have to respond with a fight. They're asking for love in a way that is misguided. And so all we have to do is respond with love. And then the whole situation can unfold. We can rise above the situation and we don't have to get mud on our boots. We can just walk right on by.
Andy, you wanted to say something?
Well, you know what? when you, oh man, when you just addressed Lee like that, I got tears, and I'll tell you that just was touching for me. And wow, when I came in, of course, late, of course. Uh, I don't know. It's just, it's actually the time that I'm just getting
Oh,
up to get ready
we were
for.
taking attendance and you're not going to get credit for today.
Yeah, but I hate
Kidding.
missing it because I gained so much. But it wasn't for
We
me,
got the
I
replay. No
suppose.
problem.
You
We
know
got
what?
you.
You're right, and I'm gonna do that. And I want to tell you, Lee, man, I love that. It was like a mantra. It was like self hypnosis. It's like visualization. It's like the whole kit and caboodle there. I love it. It's like it's beautiful. It just helps so much with our,
Thanks,
you
Andy.
know, yeah, it just
Thanks.
helps so
Yeah,
much.
it came. I had no plan. It came out wonderfully. I'm impressed too.
I'm
Good
so
job,
yeah,
me.
yeah. That was so good. It's so good. Beautiful.
Everybody and anybody is welcome to share. We are in overtime. The big game is not this weekend; it's next weekend. But we've done everything we came here to do. There's another way of looking at the world. I'm already looking at the world in a different way. I have to look up the news. Let me go find out what Puxatawny Phil says. Anybody else is welcome to raise your hand if you'd like to share. I'd love to hear from Janine. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing great, thank you. I popped out to join my meditation group,
Yes. How did that go?
but I'm back. It's phenomenal. It's
Good.
and I'm glad you asked about that because I was going to share about that. I've missed the last hour, so I don't know what juicy stuff you guys were talking about.
Oh man, we
But
had some
We
really good stuff.
I
we were
know
So
you
really
many people
did.
talking,
heaping compliments on me. Didn't know what to do
Janine.
with
We were talking about how to fix you.
it. Oh my God. We came to the conclusion you didn't need any fixing. You're already perfect exactly the way you are. So you're perfect, whole, and complete exactly the way you're supposed to be.
I just figured that out in recent times.
Oh boy.
I
If you
know,
got the
right?
secret, you can let us know. We're definitely down for hearing the secret if you got it.
Well, my share is I was here for the very opening, if you recall, so I know the lesson.
Yes.
It's interesting how things start to come together in your life and looking at things differently. I'm starting to see my being as a whole system, and doing my morning meditation, I do breath of fire, and it's
Yeah.
a particularly powerful meditation for me, and it complements this practice, studying A Course in Miracles, because I feel A Course in Miracles treats my mind and peels back the mental constructs that I've formed for myself over the years. And it's so beautiful. It's just such a beautiful awakening. But then there's my body. Our bodies carry energy, and we've got chakras and all that. And so, in giving attention to my body, of course, it connects with our spirit as well. Um, in meditation, that's where we can increase our frequency. And so I treat that part. And then there's the movement piece for me, moving through space. So I do yoga, physical, like a vinyasa yoga and a stretch. So all these different aspects of life, of treating my body, or these different treatments, I meant to say, um, allow me to look at my body, my soul, myself in very different ways, and appreciate the expansion and growth I experienced just doing these things. So it's really wonderful. Um, every day is just even more amazing than the last. So I can't even imagine. We're only on lesson 33, and I'm a,
Yes,
and I'm a new student of Breath of Fire. So woohoo! I'm just really taking off this year. This is my year, 2022, apparently. So
it is. Year of the
yeah.
Tiger, too. Everybody wear your red today. Red in these first 4 or 5 days of the Chinese New Year. Good luck.
Yes, a friend was
Yeah.
telling me that.
Yeah.
And I actually
It's a good
named
day
my
for red.
friend. Yeah, I named my friend Tiger, which is hilarious.
Oh, nice. That really does line up. Really good for you.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's my
The other
share.
tips
Thank
and tricks I got for the Chinese New Year is don't use scissors. Don't cut anything now. That cuts off the flow. So you want to leave things whole. And you don't ask for anybody to repay their debts in like the first 4 or 5 days. You know, everybody gets a little bit of time to kind of ease into the new year. Learning all kinds of new stuff. I have an
I'm
Asian
sorry, what was
sister.
that? You said don't repay debts?
You don't ask somebody or enforce a repayment of a debt early into the year. You chill for the first 4 or 5 days. So it's not good form to ask for repayment in the very beginning of the year. That's part of it. The tradition.
Well, first of all, I like to sew, so I can't do that. When does this end?
Oh, it's just like the first 4 or 5 days. Yeah, you
Well,
know
when
what?
did
As
it
long as you're
start?
not like a person cutting down trees and stuff for a living, you're probably fine. If you wanna snow and sew and snip a couple little things when you're sewing, it's probably not a big deal.
When did it start, Lee?
Day before yesterday, and we got so
on the first.
tomorrow. Yeah,
It starts tomorrow? Okay. Because
No, no,
okay.
no,
it,
no. It
it
started the first
but
Oh,
it
is it
goes
3 days.
on for a week.
Oh, gee, well, okay, so it doesn't matter that I paid my taxes, right? I
You're
paid
No,
my
okay.
it
tax.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did your part. That's the other way. Yeah, they are not supposed to ask you for taxes
Yeah.
from yet.
Okay, cool. Well, nobody owes me anything, so that's, you know.
Fantastic. That's a great way to go into the year for sure.
Actually, the guy who made that rule up for the Chinese, he actually just got drunk for the first 5 days and learned the hard way. Don't go asking for money right now. It's not a good idea. That's where that idea came from. And I just made that up completely. Just thought you'd like to know.
I'd
All
always
right,
like to know.
Dr. Natalie,
Wait, what
thank
were
you
the other
so.
things? Was there any other rules?
Oh, there were a half a dozen rules.
Oh, all right.
I will pull those up in just 1 second. I wanted to read the update from 726 from Gobbler's Knob outside of Puxatawney, Pennsylvania. Wednesday morning, the groundhog came out of his burrow in Gobbler's Knob, and a damn commercial popped up over my screen, so I can't read it. There we go. Saw his shadow predicting 6 more weeks of winter. Oh
Woohoo!
boy, oh boy. Well, if you like winter,
Oh, is that
that
bad?
it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. You know, Winter Storm Landon is coming through right now, and um, Adriana had travel plans. She was going to fly on Friday, and they bumped her flight up to today. That's why she's flying today. So there's a big, huge winter storm coming through. Landon is like 90% of my name, first initial and most of my last name. It's really strange predicaments going, moving the world around.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
you have the energy and the power to change that. Obviously,
It
it's got your
it
name on
changed
it.
it. It changed it in a wonderfully positive direction. It
Yeah,
was
you
a
get to see her.
unintentional great change.
Actually, that's right.
Yes,
Don't miss what she said. It's got
I
your
didn't.
name on it.
I
Okay.
know. I know. I got it.
Wonderful. I love puns.
Yeah. And it's if Adriana has taught me anything, it's how I'm a mirror to her and she's a mirror to me, and we're all one. We all stand in for everybody else too. It's a whole new lesson, and this year, as we go through this workbook, we're going to do that for each other. We're going to hold each other in light and love. And so as we go through this year, you've got partners. We'll be here again 6:30 tomorrow morning. I'll have my kids here, so we'll be juggling stuff, but we'll do lesson 34, and I'll see you then. Anybody
Could
can
I add
jump up and
something?
say, of course, yeah. I'm not trying to close it down. I just wanted to
Oh,
hit 8 o'clock and try and do a refresh every half hour or so.
I got you. I am seeing that you have a schedule sticking to.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, I was just going to add, if and I've heard this in other rooms, and I think it's really helpful if we all make sure we follow each other in this room.
Oh,
And
that's great. Yes, thank you for saying that.
yeah, I think it's a great thing to do. So, thanks.
So you can do that by like tapping my face. If you tap my face and you tap the little bell next to me, then you'll get a little alert when I'm talking. And that's kind of the easiest way to not have to keep up with the schedule or anything. You get a little alert. And, when I start mumbling in the morning, you can listen to me mumble. I do set up calendar entries for every single day. So if you feel like having a calendar alert, there's a little calendar back out in the hallway on the main screen up at the top in the middle. So if you go tap the hallway top left, calendar is in the middle, and then up there, I have one set up for every day. And there's all the other ones in there too. So if you follow other stuff, you should get good predictions in there. Those are the main ones. The backup ones are everything that you can listen to the replay. So for every day we turn the replays on, you can come back in and listen that way. We also post it to our Facebook group. So there's a big link up at the top of this room. Ace says ACAM Morning Coffee. And if you tap on that, you'll see the live replay right now. I've got my Flash t-shirt on, red Flash t-shirt on. You see me. My dad, Adriana, comes in there when she's not flying. And I read the book and you can see the words. And so it helps to read along with me sometimes. Certainly, if you're working on your English, and a lot of people come to the room to sit and listen and work on their English, it's a great way to help nail the words to the sounds and have it make a lot more sense too. So I welcome you to come do that. I'm also simulcasting out to YouTube and Twitch. So I set up a piece of software that takes all this stuff and sends it out to these 3 places so you can watch or rewatch in any of those locations. And all of our archives are back in the Facebook group. So Dad and I started this room back on July 4th, and we read through the whole text last year. And this year we're going to go through the workbook. And we are really, really grateful that you come and sit with us. I get frustrated with my dad and hopefully can just embody all y'all's frustration about anybody who's bothering you. And you can laugh at me, and then it'll make it easier laughing at yourself later on, and it won't hurt us anymore. So I hope you all have a magnificent day. That's a quick rundown of what we're doing and why we're doing it. It's not really the why. Maybe Dad could tell us the why.
Oh my God, I don't know what to now. For once, I'm speechless, Lee. It would have worked just as well probably if you had just silenced me, which you enjoy doing these days. Like that. I mean, Lee's been trying to do this all his life, you know. He's getting better and better at it because
You two are so funny.
he knows something's coming. This is the Bob and Lee show. What can I say, you know?
I'm so sorry, Dad. I couldn't
Oh,
help
I'm
it.
sure you are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
No, you're not, Lee.
You're
not a
right, I'm
bit.
not. You're right, I'm not.
So I'll finish up by reminding everyone that if you had been in Vietnam 50 years ago and you went into a bar and you wanted a drink like a beer, you would simply say ba mi ba, which is 33 in Vietnamese, and then you would have gotten a beer because that's the name of the beer back in those days anyway. We'll have to ask Linda if they still make that ba mi ba. I don't know. My Vietnamese daughter, Lee's Vietnamese sister. But anyway, that's today. We've had a good time today. It was really enjoyable. Lee's had a terrific time silencing me every once in a while.
My countdown timer's on. You better hurry.
And I just love to float his boat for him and allow him to do it. But he is in charge of the digital stuff here, so
I didn't do it that time. He's
whole
doing it.
energy of this deal.
That one wasn't me.
So there you have it. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'm going to be floating out here in a moment. Thanks so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you. I just want
See
to
you.
wish Lee a beautiful, beautiful visit.
Thank you.
Great,
Thank
great
you.
day.
Have a good day,
Namaste.
everyone.
Hey, bye, Will.
Namaste. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Janine. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at 6:30. So hard to find a graceful time. Thought it was at the end of the song, but it wasn't quite there. Oh, there we go. All right. 60 seconds. If anybody wants to say anything, they can. But you're all down there, so you can't. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'm going to kick you out and send you on your way. Have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Boop.